My name is Jay Weechin. I'm an adjunct assistant professor in the Department of Media Arts at the College of Staten Island.
Hi, my name is Matthew Provenzano. I'm a filmmaker based in the Staten Island, New York area, and I go to the College of Staten Island.
My first impressions of the College of Staten Island were as a student here in 1998. My first impressions, or my best impressions, were taking classes in the Department of Media Culture in the production facilities, which really had a life of its own, a very creative, vibrant place that I'm finding today is still here as an instructor.
Back when I was graduating high school and I was, coming into the College of Staten Island, I approached it kind of cynically, like a lot of people did, because I knew what I wanted. I wanted to be a filmmaker for as long as I could remember. So just thinking about coming into the College of Staten Island, I thought, what could this college really do for me that I don't already know? Like, why am I coming here for 4 years? And then I started taking the film classes, and it opened my mind so much that in a way that I never thought I could, like, my films could go. I've met so many just amazing people who help me out tremendously, and they're all so super talented, more talented than I will ever be. And it's so, there's a quote that I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it's something like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I just like to meet people who know vastly more than me and just pick their brain and see what they have to say. And there's so many people like that at CSI. Like, people wouldn't think that Staten Island is big on art and on stories and getting their stories out there. And CSI is just like a cul-de-sac of that.
Teaching at CSI is great. For me, being that I focus largely on the people and places of Staten Island, we're here on Staten Island. So when students say to me, oh, there's no stories here, I can often say, well, actually there is. Staten Island stands in a place of geographic otherness, of political otherness, that it's such a unique place, and the stories that exist here underneath our feet on this soil are stories that aren't going to be told by anyone else except by those who live here and have their ear to the ground. Standing Water is a documentary that I completed in the spring of 2004, and it profiles two residents, one of Midland Beach and the other of Ocean Breeze. And these were areas of Staten Island that were both deeply affected by Hurricane Sandy. Staten Island in particular was affected more so than any other borough. We had 23 deaths here on the borough, which is more than all other boroughs combined. So we were hit really hard. And being that I focus on Staten Island, I knew there was a story here. But for me, I had a double impulse. One is to make a documentary about this, but the other was to help my neighbor. And I chose the latter. I chose to help my neighbors. So the documentary, I began production almost 18 months later. And that was helpful to me because after all the news trucks leave, after all the stories kind of begin to be forgotten, there's still stories that remain, even to this moment, even 2 years later. So the story is ultimately about resilience. So Eamon, who's one of the subjects, he lost his home, and on the grounds of his former home, which was demolished by the city, he created a rescue center where they distributed food and clothing, helped people navigate the bureaucracy that comes along with some of the programs, insurance, Build It Back, etc. So that, to me, was a great sign of resilience, how even though he lost his home, he was still able to give back. And it was through this giving back that he gained strength. Audrey Sherry is a local artist who lives in Ocean Breeze. And she showed a great deal of resilience, not only through helping others, but through her artistic practice, which is largely sculpture, and how she builds sculptures in her yard. So it was through these two stories that ultimately showed their resilience, but also how to use both service and creative outlets to deal with with loss and rebuilding.
The title of my film is called Liberation. I made it back in 2013. It's all about the peeking into this story of this man who he rises and then he falls pretty hard, and then just despite all of that, he's able to rise again, and then he falls again. So there's no real moral to it. I didn't make it with the intent of like trying to send a message to somebody's head. I just liked the idea of that story, and I wanted the viewer to just be able to take it all in and watch it. And I also wanted to show that emotion through drawings, which was a challenge to me since it's not live action, it's animation. My film is about a father who is quite obviously poor, and he just wants to make his child happy, so he steals a teddy bear. And it's kind of implied that this isn't his first offense, that he's like done stuff like this in the past. So the policemen come and they take him away. So he's not able to see his son, and then he gets upset. He's like, I'm not having this. So he just starts working out in his cell. He's like, it takes him like a year or whatever, and he's working out, he's like building muscles, and then eventually he finds out that he's stronger than the cell, so he's able to break out. So then there's this moment where he's outside of the police station and he's just about to break free, and they catch him. They're like, we gotta, you're right there, you gotta get back here. So they go to follow him, and then there's a moment where he reflects back to his child, and he's like, I'm going to go back to jail, that's a fact, I'm going back to jail, but I have to see my son again. So I just brought this in. I felt like it would be interesting just to give like a visual to what I've been talking about. This right here, this is Liberation. This is the entire thing. I can't even estimate how many papers it is. I'm not entirely sure. I had to put it in 2 piles because the rubber band was breaking. If you look on each paper, there's an individually drawn thing. In fact, I'll take it out just to show you. I want to estimate that it's about, it's over 3,000 photos, I'll say. If you look at it, there's here's a frame of it. It's an awkward frame, but I'll go to it's like the mother as she's crying and just keeps going. And there's so many of them. And this is it. This is like what you're looking at right here. This is Liberation. It's about as big as my head, and I'm an insane person for making it.
Just being on Staten Island, teaching filmmakers on Staten Island, helping to build a community of filmmakers here is a wonderful thing. Seeing work evolve. I like being able to see students evolve into proficient media makers. I like to see where they go after they graduate. I like to see the work that they produce and where that goes. And I like for them to have an appreciation of where they are and how that can be used to tell their story. So one of the strengths of City University of New York, of CUNY, is that it's diverse and it's also spread out throughout the city. And that's a wonderful thing, but rarely do the filmmakers from each of the campuses have an opportunity to get together and show their work to one another. And the CUNY Film Festival is a wonderful opportunity for that.
I have a film that I'm working on. It's called Martini Shot, and it's about 55 minutes long. I'm not even done. I'm still in post-production. I'm still way into it. And if the time is right and the film is ready, I'll absolutely submit that film, because that's a film that I'm very proud of how it's coming, and I'd like to show more people, and I feel like this film festival is a great way to do that.
My advice to young filmmakers and young artists are a couple things. One is stay hungry. While you're young, if you have the opportunity to live at home, to not pay rent, pick up any free gigs you can. Write those gigs down, what you did and who the contacts were. That will help you build a professional resume. Don't limit yourself to just sound or lighting or camera. You're not going to be a director overnight. It's totally cool to PA. PA as much as you want. Drive vans around, carry boxes, load, unload, whatever it is, just do it. You have nothing to lose by doing that. The second thing is, in addition to building a production or professional portfolio, save all of your work. Have it on a website like Vimeo, have it on a hard drive, and then have it on at least one more hard drive.
My name is Matt Provenzano, and I will be attending the CUNY Film Festival
CUNY Film Festival on the 28th, 29th,
and 30th. I hope to see you there.